Hello, children. My name is Mr. Brooks, and I am so glad you are here because I have something very special to share with you. Did you know that every story has a beginning, but not all stories have an end? It's true. For example, the story of you began the day you were born, but the story of you is not yet over. You might say that every day is a new page in the story of you. I wrote a true story that took place when I was a young boy, and although the book has an ending, the story is not yet finished. I hope that when our time here has ended, you will have some ideas about how you could join me in ending a happy ending to the story. My story begins many years ago when I was just 12 years old. Even though it was a long time ago, I can still remember that blazing summer morning in Miami, Florida. I was peacefully asleep in my bed when an alarming thing happened. My grandmother shook my feet and shouted, get up, and get dressed quickly. We have a very special bus to catch today." I rolled over and tried to go back to sleep, but my grandmother was very persistent. Her voice grew louder, and she shook my feet again. I finally pulled myself out of bed. The word special gave me the idea that maybe she had something fun and exciting planned. I dressed quickly and we headed out the door. We walked and we walked and we walked towards the bus stop. "Grandmother," I asked, "what is so special about this bus anyway?" She did not answer me. I thought she was trying to keep it a secret to surprise me. My imagination began to think up so many possibilities. Maybe we were about to ride the first modern bus with bells and whistles, or maybe with a double-decker bus. Or maybe the bus was special because it would take us to somewhere special, like an amusement park. I could hardly wait to find out. The long walk began to tire my grandmother, so she asked me to run ahead so that we wouldn't miss the bus. In the distance, I could see it coming, but as it got closer, I didn't notice anything special. It was just an ordinary old bus. No bells, no whistles, and certainly no double-decker seating. It must be taking us somewhere special, I thought. So I shouted, "Hurry, hurry, the bus is coming!" The bus came to a screeching stop, and the big glass doors opened up. The driver waited patiently for my grandmother to catch up. As she approached the bus, I could see the excitement on her face. She reached out for the shiny handrail and slowly pulled herself up step by step. Then she did something very strange. She extended her hand to the driver, grasped his hand tightly, and with a gleaming smile said, "I just wanted to congratulate you." Politely, the driver responded, "Thank you very much, ma'am." She turned around and got off the bus. "Come on, Roger, let's go back home." Now, how do you think you would have felt if you were that young boy? Maybe you would have felt disappointed, frustrated, or angry. I felt all of those things, and I was very confused. Grandma, I said, why did you tell me we were going to catch a special bus? That was not special at all. Grandson, it was indeed rare and extraordinary. You see, the man driving that bus was the first African American bus driver hired in our county. I wanted us both to witness this historical event. Well, I was still very confused. I was a frequent passenger on the number 14 bus, and I never paid attention to who was driving. As we walked back home, questions swirled in my head. Why aren't black people drive buses? Anyway, I thought. I thought about how I always sit at the back near the exit because I like to get off the bus quickly. This was also where black people sat, and I was often puzzled by what I observed. Nobody talked with each other, and everyone seemed angry. They sat straight up with their arms folded across their bodies. I wonder why all those faces seemed so sad. I recall the time I made eye contact with a large, muscular man. To be friendly, I gave him a smile, and he just glared back at me. I didn't like the way that made me feel. Breaking the silence, I asked, Grandma, why do black people seem to be so angry? Why don't they laugh or smile? Why is there so much sadness in their eyes? My grandmother stopped walking, took my hand and said, I can't answer that right now, but I will, my grandson. I promise you I will. Summer ended, and I entered the 6th grade. One day, my teacher approached my desk and said, Go home quickly, your grandmother needs you. I ran as fast as I could because I was afraid she may have been sick. But as I entered the house, she was standing there waiting for me all dressed up. She wasn't sick at all. Wash up, you and I are going to see a baseball movie. Well, I love baseball, and I was very excited. But I wondered why in the world she took me out of school to see a movie. As we walked to the theater, she told me we were going to see the Jackie Robinson story. I didn't have any idea who Jackie Robinson was. Do you know who Jackie Robinson was? I bet you don't, because he lived a long time ago. Jackie Robinson was the first African American to play professional baseball. But for Jackie, it was very, very hard. Keep listening, and you'll understand why. I often dreamed of becoming a baseball player, so I could hardly wait to get to the theater. But this movie was a lot different than I expected. It made me feel a whole bunch of feelings at once, and that confused me. I bet you sometimes feel a whole bunch of feelings at once too. On the way home, my grandmother asked me what I learned from the movie. I thought about it for a little while and said that I felt sorry for Jackie. When he was a young boy, his baseball glove was worn and had a hole in it. All the other boys had new gloves. Yes, that is true, she said. But what did you learn? Boy, he could really steal those bases, I replied. Patiently, she said, yes, but that is not all. I felt sad that I couldn't give her the right answer. Then I remembered Jackie's ability to hit so many home runs. Excited and confident, I said, it's the home runs, right? No, my grandson, it's not that. How was Jackie Robinson treated? He wasn't treated well at all, I said. The people spit at him and called him terrible names. Yes, and how was he treated when he went into restaurants, hotels, restrooms, and buses, she asked. My grandmother had tears in her eyes, and it frightened me. Grandma, they treated him as though he had done something wrong, but he didn't. He didn't do anything wrong. I think it was because of the color of his skin. I could see she was finally satisfied with my answer. With a quivering voice, she said, yes, you are right. Do you remember the summer day when we went to see the special bus? You asked me why black people sat at the back of the bus, and why they had sad faces, and why they looked so angry, and why they didn't laugh or smile or talk with each other. With tears coming down her face, she said, Jackie Robinson was treated the same way that all black people have been treated in America all of their lives. They are angry because for years they have been spat upon and called terrible names. For years they have not had the privileges that white people have. For years they have been horribly mistreated. What you experienced on the bus was injustice, unfairness, and discrimination. I finally understood, well, as best I could. Grandson, I want you to always remember those faces, so that when you see injustice taking place in the world, you will be able to feel what they feel. We are all God's children, and everyone deserves to be treated with respect, kindness, and dignity. I never ever forgot that day. Every time I see a bus, I still think of those faces. I think about what it might have felt like to be that bus driver, or to be Jackie Robinson. I also think about all the love my grandmother had in her heart for all people, but especially for African American people who suffered so greatly. It was a very good lesson. Children, even though this true story took place many years ago, black people are still being mistreated in our world today. But you can help change that by choosing to be kind to each and every person, and by noticing our similarities as well as our differences. You can be an important part in helping to make the ending of this story a happy one.